Hi, we are the Sleepy AI Bros, and we're back again to give you hot, sweet topics on artificial intelligence, AI. We talk about things that range from open.
That was so surprising.
Anyways, yes, just ignore my partner. This is Melanie, by the way, and I'm Gideon. Today we'll be talking about AI and creativity. Try to explore different aspects of creativity based on the knowledge that we have, and then see the influence that artificial intelligence has on the field of creativity. What to expect? What are the nightmares that would play out in terms of the introduction of artificial intelligence in the creative space? And what are the sweet dreams or the good things that AI is going to have in terms of influence on creativity? So let's dive into it. Okay, so starting with the first question, and I'm going to throw that to you, Pelumi. If you're just going to do an introduction of what exactly it is that you have seen play out with artificial intelligence and creativity, can you just share like your own thoughts on it generally before we start going into the nitty-gritty of things?
I think with the introduction of AI in our day-to-day lives, I think we've seen AI creep into the art space, the creative space, more and more. Started off with, generative text. People could write, create, stories that are more convincing, more engaging than what some people are able to write, with their skill level, right? And then gradually we started seeing AI generated images. So we then have AI art, AI photography, AI 3D design. And then now we also have AI generated music. So like you hear Jay-Z or Kanye West rapping to some crazy lyric or something. So it's really interesting. Yeah. There's a lot happening in this space.
There's a lot actually happening, and we have AI now generating videos by Runway. You have Runway ML doing that.
True.
You have, like you said, the AI generating music, and we've seen there was an example of a particular song that was released that became popular, that used the voice of Grimm. That's Elon Musk.
Oh, really?
Wife. Yeah. And that's it became so popular that the interesting part of that the popularity of that video that song is the fact that she came out and said she's ready to give a 50% loyalty.
Are you serious?
So the person, like, because of how the fame that had, and we have stuff like that already playing out. You see people trying to use AI to create different things. We have AI that generates. If you recall, in the last in our last recording, our last episode, we talked about how people now use tools like ChatGPT to generate text, to generate sermons and whatnot. Now, see how that plays out in the aspect of creativity, where you have AIs generating poems, generating lullabies, lyrics to songs. It even generates the music notes, how the song is supposed to sound. Like that's some next level voodoo. I need to use the word, but yeah. So you have that. There are sites where you can now you can generate stock photos. You have the likes of Midjourney, where you just use prompts to determine to define the kind of image that you want. So you are not limited to what you can use with tools like Photoshop. You can just use your imagination to write out whatever it is that you have on Midjourney, and then generate the kind of images that you have. So looking at all of this, if we are going to talk about the creation of artworks, especially because now that this is almost, let's say, it's already coming to stay in our world.
Yeah, it's mainstream.
It's becoming very mainstream right now. What is the impact of AI in created arts?
Okay, so like when you refer to art curation, right? I take it you are referring to how museums,
Mm-hmm,
galleries
mm-hmm.
will curate, whatever art that they have in their collection,
Yeah.
right? And that's actually an important question, because I mean, in the news now, we've heard people complain about, hey, who owns the art that is generated by AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my suspicion is that for galleries and museums, art curators who help those museums and galleries curate the works on display, right, will be that they may likely have to separate human created art from AI generated
We have
art.
sections for human generated ads, sections for AI
Yeah,
generated ads.
yeah, that's what I suspect.
So if we now have those two sections, what determines the value for AI generated ads, like in terms of the what compared to human generated ads?
Yeah, I mean, you have to ask yourself the question that, like, what gives art value, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are a number of factors that gives value to art. In some instances, it's like the social currency of the piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, you would see like work from someone like Banksy, right? I
Yeah.
don't know if you know Banksy. He
Yeah. Yeah.
does spray paintings on murals all over the world, and some of his works have sold for tens of
You
millions
should
of
actually
dollars.
check Banks. His
Yeah,
works
yeah.
are really good.
So, and of
Free
course,
publicity. Sorry.
yeah, it has social currency because it speaks on social issues in society: capitalism, authoritarianism, oppression of people, poverty,
Mm-hmm.
all those sorts of things, and that carries social weight, and of course, um, adds to the value of a piece of art. Some other things that add to the value of art include like how skillful the artist is. So there are people who can actually look at pieces of art and say, hey, so much work went into this. You can see how adept the person is at bringing out their work. Of course, there's like color, the gender of the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out that female subjects tend to sell better than male subjects. So the win for the women. I like that. Yeah. And then just a bunch of
Interesting.
factors. So, like, for AI art, I think I'm not sure if those same metrics may necessarily apply.
They can actually. So based on what you said now, if we're going to use this, you mentioned the social currency, you
Mm,
mentioned the amount of effort put on the artwork,
yeah.
and then the gender aspect. Using the social currency as a to start, if we're going to place those three metrics that you mentioned for
Yeah.
AI artworks, the social aspects of it could be a representation of those artworks in
Okay.
the digital world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we will still go into talking about the digital world aspect, like things like the virtual reality
Yeah.
experience.
VR. Yeah.
But the way the appreciation of your work in AI is used in a digital world would actually determine its value.
Yeah.
That is one aspect to it. Then the second aspect is in respect to the amount of effort that is being put, like you mentioned. One thing I've noticed as well is if you look at the differences in terms of AI generated art, especially like the ones that I follow on social on Instagram, for
Yeah.
example, I follow some pages where you see some of the images that they generate. I'm just like, what comes to your mind? Like, what exactly are you thinking that you're able to come up with such concept? Like,
Yeah.
I play with Mid Journey a lot, and one of the major challenge is using the right words
Okay.
to
So,
be
like
able
the
to
prompts.
exactly the prompt that you use is it now becomes we get to a point where the better the bigger your imagination or how well you are able to
to
imagine
to
something
articulate your
exactly
imagination even.
that reflects in the piece of art that you'll be creating with AI, and that could actually give the AI
So that's a
work
metric
its
for
value.
measuring efforts.
Possibly,
That's
like
so
I don't know,
intriguing.
it's a perspective that we could look at. So there is that. Then the aspect of gender.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that is going to play out, but if I was to deduce something, I'll probably say how sci-fi you can create work. So what I mean by that
Okay.
is, um, we're talking about artificial intelligence, AI, and we are
Mm-hmm.
moving in a world where everything is AI inclined, if that's the word to use.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now we will be a lot of creations we will be seeing
Mm-hmm.
will be um at like is sci-fi the word? There will be a lot of digital um technological representations in the work.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
for example, you'll be seeing things like I don't know, maybe a robot arts. You'll be seeing arts that are not human, that are not as human represented.
Oh, I get you.
They would be,
So are you saying that like gender may not play that much of a
yeah, it
role
might not
with
be,
AI
the
arts?
gender would not be male and female that we are seeing now.
Mm.
It might, this is
This
me
is
deducing,
interesting.
I don't know, it's just my own thing.
No, no, keep it
It's
going.
it's
I
not
like
the,
it.
the gender might not be male female like we have it now. It's, you start
So
seeing
we may have
alien
like
created art, you start seeing robot
robot.
created art, you start seeing machine generated art that we are not used to seeing. So because of how well people are able to articulate those artwork, it opens our mind to new things that we are not used to.
Yeah, new
So when
possibilities.
you
Yeah.
start seeing those possibilities, you tend to appreciate it, and it's almost like, wow, this is actually something that I would love to hang on my wall. I would like to have a piece of, especially if we are diving into a world where all these arts creations can actually become a reality in terms of building them. So that those are the, like, using the three metrics that you mentioned for human generated art, I think it can
Yeah.
we can see how that can play out in the AI generated art. I don't know. It sounds.
I mean, I agree with that, and I see your perspective really clearly. I think also when you're talking about value,
Mm,
right? Beyond those three metrics, sometimes too, people look at the background of the artist who created the image. Who are those who have owned this piece of art in their collection before, right? Like the passage. And then people also consider the like the personality, the person involved, like in creating the art, which I think, I mean, I don't really know how that could tie into like AI generated images in the sense that, so, okay, if someone is able to prompt the AI tools to generate images, right, we could say that yes, there's an artist, so there's a background, like maybe if it's hosted on a blockchain and it's passed with like NFTs or something like that, so we can have
speaking
ownership.
speaking on NFT, what do you think gave NFT the wave and value that it had? Because you could actually say these are digital arts, taking
Yeah,
out AI. That, okay, these are not maybe AI
AI
generated,
generated,
but they are
yeah.
digital arts, and we
Mm.
have that similarity in terms of the digital art representation and the AI art representation. AI arts are digital arts.
Yeah.
So, what made NFTs back then? Because the wave of NFT has actually
Yeah,
dropped.
because of the
Yeah.
crypto winter,
So
as they call it.
so what made the NFT rave so high that it had more value? Because you mentioned something about the people that actually acquire some of these artworks and resell actually
Yeah,
also increases
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
value of it. So do you see that also play out in
Yeah,
this?
it does. It does play a significant role because I've seen that. I remember PewDiePie.
Mhm.
I think he owned one of the early ape NFTs at the time, and by virtue of the fact that he had it in his collection, other people like were also like stoked
Interested.
not to miss out on acquiring pieces in that collection. So yes, I do see where ownership can add to the value of like AI generated art, like previous ownership transfers. Maybe there might be ways to connect that digital ownership to AI generated images. The only challenge, which I think we've seen a lot of that in the media, in the news recently, is essentially like who owns AI generated art. We may not be able to really dive deep into that in this episode, but like it's a major concern. So if AI is able to generate these wonderful images that are prompted by a human being
Mm-hmm.
with imagination and just great articulation, right? Who owns it really? And who's going to benefit from it? Is it the AI? Is it the company that owns the AI? Is it the artist? So I think that's still something we're trying to navigate.
Mm,
And of course, there's a bit of an AI nightmare for artists there who worry about
mm-hmm.
ownership and getting money from their art, duplication, training AI models with their work. So that could be a challenge. But of course, on the flip side, I mean, if the regulatory frameworks exist,
Mm-hmm.
it could create massive upsides for artists who can use AI to generate even more works than they normally could have been able to do in their
Mm-hmm.
lifetimes
Mm-hmm.
because it's so much faster, there's just so much possibility really. So
Based on what you said, if you can see that from me, so AI and
yeah,
collaboration, like having
exactly.
collaborating with artists, and this is not
Mm,
just even from an arts point of view. There's also the part of music as well,
yeah,
writing. Like having to infuse both of them together could actually come off as positive as we can imagine, as opposed to
yeah,
seeing it as a major downside.
yeah.
So I think the last part of what we will talk about before we end this episode is in respect to where do you how do you come to a balance in respect to um, taking full credit of all this that has been created, one, and then the second part I wanted to talk about, which I just remembered, is in respect to AI and virtual reality, like the
Um,
digital world that we are about to see coming. Trust me, like it might sound very dreamy and whatnot, but
it's here.
what Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook is doing with Meta and the metaverse is actually going to come to stay. That's my own prediction, and as much as it's pumping so much money and it seems like it's too far fetched,
Yeah,
we are already building tools. We're already building tools and creations that would eventually be translated into that world,
yeah,
and then you start to see how these digital art, AI created artworks are used and are value within a digital world. So we have the physical world where things are naturally appreciated in terms of human generated pieces. The digital world takes it to a new level. This is where you start to see the depth of people's imagination.
yeah, yeah,
And a lot of what is going to fuel that is the influence of what AI tools, how they're able to use AI to be able to come up with. Like, you would have AI music in a digital world where
yeah,
people are creating songs, people start having colonies, if that's the word to use, but you start having colonies, people are buying houses, people are creating art pieces that
yeah.
we are yet to be able to build in terms of
Like in
product,
the
yeah,
real
in the real
world.
world. But
Yeah.
you have a world where you can actually go and just see imaginations of people reflect. So what do you think? That's those are
Those
two
are two
questions. So
questions.
I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
that's a lot. It's a lot. Well,
Well,
go ahead. Go on.
no, you shared like I love where you took the conversation. So like, um, recently I was listening to Sam Altman. That's like the primary founder of
Opening, yeah,
OpenAI.
yeah.
The guy is behind ChatGPT and the most popular GPT technology we have today. Anyway, so of course there's a lot of concern from U.S. Congress, trying to see who really owns. At least that's one portion of what they talked about. Who really owns, the revenue that's generated from AI created content, particularly music, right? And you could hear different opinions. People would say, "Oh well, the money should go completely to the artist."
Mm-hmm.
Some are saying, "Should it go to the companies that created the technology for generating that type of music, or is it the person who creatively mixed up, new lyrics generated by AI by themselves, and added their own creativity to it?" But like people are speaking of a revenue sharing model, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in the sense that necessarily like the tools are just tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the companies have nothing to get from there, right? So the companies don't have to get anything from that creation, but like the artist whose voice may have been mimicked,
Yeah.
right? Because like they've put years of work into their own
Training and
sound and
all.
style or their artwork and all those things. So of course they do deserve, a very sizable portion from any type of creation made that way. So that's what people are talking about right now. There's still no consensus on how that's really going to work, or whether or not people are even open to training their the AI models with their work. So, but then the more interesting thing about like this virtual reality thing you spoke about is just the possibilities are just so immense, so
Endless.
immense. I've been a part of an art exhibition that was held virtually. So if you had VR glasses, you could like put it on, or you could just use like your screen and you navigate through a virtual gallery where you could see the art. You could really zoom in, flip it around. It's really immersive. So like for virtual reality worlds, we could have clubs that just play AI generated music where like you and your virtual character could go and dance there, or like maybe you're on a virtual date in a VR world. And like you view AI generated images in like select galleries.
Yeah.
They could charge money. This could be like a new economy, right? Because as digital content consumption continues to increase, you see that many things can be created, like product design. There could be like phones, vehicles, computers, things, whatever it is you can imagine, that people can use AI to generate, at scale faster than what we could do, right, with conventional tools and in the real world, in those VR worlds. And we'll just have a whole new experience. Like, it's really unbelievable we're in the golden age of like digital technology. So much is happening so quickly. There's VR here, there's AI, and like seeing that combination would really be incredible.
You have VR, you have AR, you have XR, you have, I'm like, why are
Like,
there
it's so
many
crazy.
Rs?
Where are we really going?
And now we have AI, and the number of tools that people are releasing every single day. It's mind blowing. It's mind blowing, and I think we've been able to touch different quite a number of parts. Just seeing different perspective to things. The way this could come off very, very good. Could come off as a revenue generation,
empower
for
artists
people,
and
empower
creators,
artists as well. And then there's also the flip side of it, or the nightmare side, as we would probably call it.
AI nightmares.
AI nightmare is when people start to lose ownership of some things. Some artists, creatives starts to feel threatened. In terms of their works and
people
whatnot.
stealing art,
People
counterfeiting
stealing art,
work.
exactly. And piracy starts to increase in so many levels.
So, but the AI future is here, and it's here to stay.
It's here to stay, and I'm looking forward to a digital world.
Yeah, I'm an AI optimist, so that's me. I love it. I love it here.
Anyways.
I love the whole AI thing and VR and technology in general. I mean, that's why we're the sleepy AI bros after all.
So I think that's all that we'll. Do you have any other thing you want to share before we?
I mean, I think that's about it. So I would say subscribe to our channel, follow us on Instagram, and on our other social platforms. We discuss AI as we talked about at the start of this episode, right? We talk about AI right before bedtime, just to think about like what are the good sides to this and how it affects our lives, which we refer to as the AI sweet dreams, and then like the negative sides, the concerns, and how it might affect us in ways we may not expect, which is what we refer to as the AI nightmare. So we discussed this, and if you want to hear more of our thoughts right before bedtime, you should check us out, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
And be open-minded. That's just one. If I'm going to just leave a word or two, be open-minded about this AI thing that is coming to play.
So yeah, leave your comments. Let's hear your thoughts too, right?
Yes. See you in the next episode.
Yeah. Bye. And,
Good night.
Good night.